Welcome back to Face the Nation. We're in conversation with Professor Chandra Gupta, Dr. Pakisal Saranmuthu, and also Dr. Maya Mendez. We start off the final round with Professor Tenura. Professor Tenura, who should be on the national list of respective political parties?
I think it's without any national or whatever, any name going to be in the list has to be like I would like to say that under the March 12th convention we had we thought what kind of people has to be there, and without they shouldn't be criminals, and they shouldn't be people who involved in bribery and corruption, and they have to be friendly with the people, and they have to friendly with not only the people and the environment, and they have to respect the other communities. And so without people who talking about the not racial discussion, not provoke racial issues, and those kind of people we have to be in the list and to nominate to the national list, and even without any, we don't have to think about the because previously they thought intellectuals, and who is the intellectual, then there will be a question. So then, and those are the categories we have to look for.
Professor Tenura, speaking at an event yesterday, President Maithripala Sirisena said that his priority right now is to create a drug-free nation. Are we on the right track?
I think still we are not, because
what must we do?
We have to give power to the police, and we have to give power to authorities. We have to strengthen the law and act accordingly, and remove the politicians who are involved with that or named related to that business, and they have to go for a court and arrest them and start some kind of action against them.
During the election campaigning in December and even in January, the present regime said that those who are corrupt will be put behind bars. Mm-hmm. Nothing has been done up to now. 7 months.
Yes.
What is going on?
No, I think this government tried to do those kind of things. They formed the FCID, Financial Crime Investigation Division. But later the other parties, previous people who are affiliated to that previous regime, they went for the court and asking it's not lawful organization, and so they are disturbing to that process, and we have to, because we don't have open kind of investigation. Again, people, we don't know, we don't see, we only hear the rumors, and there is no system of getting correct information. So we are getting only we arresting news, and they are in the prisons and remanded, and those are the only thing we heard. And then after that, again, it's not an easy thing. It's not a one-day thing you can finish and person put behind the bar, and we have to have a long process and investigation, proper investigation. So that's the only way we can do it. It's six months is not enough to do that, which 10 years corrupted people, to put into behind bars.
Thank you very much, Professor Chandra Gupta Tenura. I now move on to Dr. Maya Mendez, Senior Lecturer and Specialist in Organizational Development and Governance. Where did the present regime go wrong?
Can you repeat the question?
Which area did the present regime go wrong in terms of the economy, in terms of policies, in terms of politics? The present regime, the UNP-led government.
Well, the present regime, when you say where did it go wrong, Well, we need to answer that in a contextually relevant manner. They were constrained very clearly, very clearly by unanticipated developments. They did not get the support that the government should have got from the opposition. They should have known much better that the democratic process and the reforms were in the best interest of the people and the country. So the government was constrained. I should say that it did not go wrong. They were committed to the reforms that they pledged to implement, but they did not get the support of the legislature. That's why we are talking about parliamentary elections very soon.
What must the people keep in mind when issues like the central bank bond issue, taking these into account, corruption allegations, 7 months and so much of money wasted? What is your message to the public?
Well, the most important thing is, now all these issues come up because there is acute ignorance on democracy, rule of law, and issues of that nature. We are not talking about kangaroo courts, we are talking about the due process of law respected. The COPE, the Committee on Public Enterprises, well, had to give the report properly, the legitimate report. We cannot go by interim reports. There's a process. So, until such time the process is concluded, well, we cannot come into conclusions. Of course, we are disappointed.
What is your message to the public?
Well, the message to the public is that they need to be realistic. They need to be very concerned, alert and awake, concerned in the manner in which the government conducts itself. The government should not be allowed to wash its hands off what they have been talking about with regard to the corrupt actions of the previous regime. They need to be pursued to a logical conclusion. Now, people need to be alert. Not all people are going to be alert. Members of civil society who have been in the forefront of the struggle to bring about change have a very formidable role. They carry the burden to be extremely alert and awake in the days to come as well.
Dr. Mendez, in 2013, I recollect when you were the media spokesperson of FUTA, what was your demand?
Well, we had a number of demands.
What was key among them?
Well, the 6% GDP happened to be a major demand of the university academics because this country did not give due respect to people's education, primary, secondary and tertiary education. 29th January,
was this fulfilled by the present regime?
The present regime, in principle, has accepted the demand of the Federation of University Teachers and the people, the civil society.
Did you receive the 6%?
6% GDP is now accepted in principle by the present regime.
Accepted in principle, but you have not received it.
Well, how it is going to be used, how it is going to be implemented is left to be seen, but at least the new regime accepted that a minimum 6% GDP should be allocated for country's education.
Promises and promises again, pledges and pledges again. What must the people keep in mind? Intellectuals like you. What must you keep in mind? Well, on the 17th of August this year.
Anyone should walk his talk is very important. It's very important that governments honor the pledges made to the people. And on the other hand, the people need to be extremely concerned about what the government is talking about in response to what they wanted.
Thank you very much to Dr. Maya Mendez. Walk the talk. I now move on to Dr. Pakis Saramuthu, Executive Director of the Center for Policy Alternatives. Dr. Saramuthu, I recollect how you've been extremely vocal on the war, on reconciliation, and how Sri Lanka should move forward in terms of accountability issues during the recent past, in particular the last 8 years or so. Last 7 months, you said more has to be done in terms of moving forward. Are you really satisfied the way in which this government has carried forward its pledges made to the public?
No, as I said, I'm not completely satisfied. What I will say is that the situation is much better than what preceded it. But certainly, it has to improve considerably. Remember, this government comes into office with a parliament stacked against it. And it ends up staying there. It only intended to, we were told, for 100 days. And it stayed there for what, 150 almost. Yeah, so everything that was done with a very short-term horizon. And then we got into the situation where we seemed to be in almost a state of limbo. Everyone was asking the question, when is he going to dissolve? I mean, you know, it's ironic in this country in terms of our political culture. We got rid of one individual because he was so strong, and then sort of waited for one individual to decide when Parliament was going to be dissolved. And now we ask the question of why does he give X and Y and Z nomination? It comes down again to this whole question of building institutions and processes in this country without having to decide on the whims and fancies of individuals. You know, that's what real sustainable democracy is about, that there are institutions which will carry the day.
Nationalist, how do you define the nationalist?
Well, the nationalist is there for the sort of great and good who, for whatever reason, cannot or will not get involved in the electoral fray. In addition to that, the nationalist is there to compensate for the underrepresented and provide a place for them. But unfortunately, you get defeated candidates being put on the national list. You get people, the criteria defy imagination.
What must the general secretaries of respective parties, leaders of respective parties, keep in mind when appointing individuals to the national list?
I think what they should keep in mind is this, is that the national list is there for exactly those with integrity, those with vision, those who can think of Sri Lanka as one united country where diversity and pluralism is respected, not feared. It is seen as a strength, and that the political architecture of the country is built around that.
What is your message, Dr. Saramuthu, to the public?
As far as
the elections are concerned, on the 17th of August, what must they think before they go to the polling booth and put their mark?
They must think in terms of finishing the unfinished business of January 2015.
January 2015, 8th January 2015, the President pledged to reform and bring in change. Is that happening now?
Yes, but again, I go back to my point. Yes, there is change, but it's insufficient. It hasn't taken deep enough root. It has to be sustained. It has to be, we have to readdress ourselves to what we saw as the key principal cardinal challenge facing this country in January 2015.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saramuthu. Thank you very much, Professor Chandra Gupta Tenura, President of FUTA, Dr. Pakisal Saramuthu, Executive Director of the Center for Policy Alternatives, and also Dr. Maya Mendez, Senior Lecturer and Specialist in Organizational Development and Governance. Thank you very much, Faraz. Thank you very much, Shahin. And Nadim, thank you very much for joining us this evening as well. It's up to you to vote the right people in. A clean parliament is what the people expect. I leave you tonight with a quote from Martin Luther King. Time is always right to do the right thing. The ball is in your court. Do the right thing. 17th of August, it's your test. Thank you very much for joining us. This is Face the Nation.